Hello and welcome to episode 133 of Disney with the Ducks. I'm your host for tonight, Lonnie G. But I can't do this alone, right? So I am joined by a plethora of some of my favorite ducks. We have tonight Jody B. How you doing, Jody?
Hi, friends. How are you?
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. And we also have Mean Gene. Woo! Gene, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. Gonna make it. It'll be all right.
Okay. So
Tough times call for tough people. I don't know.
tough times build great character, right? And just like any
Something
house
like that.
fan, you know, it's a tough time every time it's football season. We're also joined by a very special guest tonight. We have Crystal joining us. Crystal, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Outstanding. So, guys, Crystal is here to have to chat and kind of discuss her adventures as she went to Disneyland to run the Halloween races. So, awesome! Can't wait to hear about that. But before we get started, if you guys could do a favor for us, if you don't mind, if you can go into give us 5 stars, right? Go give us a review if you have a second. Yeah. Oh, there you go, Joe. That was wondering, it wasn't happening. So go ahead and give us a review if you can. 5 stars. If you have any negative things to, well, why would you have anything negative to say? Just not here. That's usually the source of the negativity. So he's not here. So it'll be all positive. So if you can go give us 5 stars on your podcatcher of choice, that would be great. And also, as we always do, we're going to start today's episode with a question so you guys get to know us better. Of course, I hate running, but something had to make us start running, right? So tonight's question is, hey, what made us start running? Crystal, you're our special guest. So I'm going to start with you. What made you start running?
Well, I actually sort of hate running, but during COVID, I had 2 little babies at home and I couldn't take a class. I couldn't go to spin. I couldn't do anything. And so I had to figure out how am I going to burn a calorie. So I bought a jogging stroller and I said, okay, I'm going to put the kids in this jogging stroller and I'm going to start running. Well, after 30 seconds, I said to myself, this is so awful. I hate this so much. I need a goal. And if I'm going to keep doing this, I have to get some motivation. So what do runners do? Runners, they run marathons. Okay, I'll sign up for a marathon. And where would I run a marathon? Disney. I love Disney. So when Disney brings the runs back, I'm going to run a marathon. I had never run at all ever in my life. No other distance, not even so much as a 5K in my hometown. The first race I ever ran was the Walt Disney World Marathon in 2022. And then I got so mad because I finished it and I really thought I was something. I'm like, yeah, I ran a marathon. This is pretty awesome. And then all these people were walking around with all these medals. And I looked at somebody and said, I did the hard thing. How did you get all these medals? And she looked at me and she's like, I ran them all. And I said, oh no, now I have to come back and run them all. So I did.
Wow. Yeah, medal envy is a thing. It really is. Right. So and only at Disney when you go for marathon weekend will you say I only ran the full marathon, because anywhere else, I mean, that's an achievement. It's still an achievement, but just you're like, hey, but they ran and they have more medals. So yeah, I understand. I understand. Jody B, what made you start running?
I was 39 years old and was retiring from soccer. I had played on women's leagues and co-ed leagues and just kind of had enough. And my dad and my husband had been running a triathlon together for many years. My dad decided to retire. And so my husband, in all his wisdom, said, why don't you run this with me in your dad's place? And I'm like, you're crazy. I don't want to do that. And so at 39, I started training for my first 5K, which was part of a triathlon, because why not just jump in big, right, Crystal?
Absolutely.
I will say it was a canoe bike run, or I'm sorry, a canoe run bike, not a swim. I'm a swimmer, but my Tim's not. So I trained for 5K, thought I was going to die. Turns out the biking was probably the most challenging. Well, no, actually, the canoe was probably the most challenging because Tim and I almost went to divorce court during it. But anyway, we survived the canoe. But yeah, that's how I started. So it was I think like a month before, not even a month, a couple weeks before my 40th birthday, and yeah, that's what got me started. And I swore I would never run more than a 5K. And then next thing you know, I was doing a 10K, and then I was doing a half marathon, and then I was stupid enough to do a full marathon. And then this dopey thing came up, and I just had to do it. So here we are, all these years later, still at it.
Yeah. And I may add, you didn't kill Tim, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
still married. Our anniversary is in a couple of days. So
There you go.
23
Congratulations.
years.
on both
23
ends.
years. Same man.
Wow. So congratulations, anniversary, and not going to prison. Gene,
Yeah.
we know,
Yeah.
man, you're a running machine. What made you start running?
Well, just a little background. When I was growing up, I was not one of those thin, fast kids or anything.
No.
Running was always running was always punishment. I mean, it was just the worst part of everything. It was the worst part of football practice. It was the worst part of everything. I hated to run. And then as an adult, I would run because I just knew cardio was, good for me. And at some point, I was trying to lose weight, and so I was running, and I ran. I remember when I ran 5 miles for the first time. I was 35 years old, and I was running 5 or 6 miles a day, like 5 or 6 days a week. And one of my coworkers challenged me. He's like, "Man, you need to go out on the weekend one day and just go to park or something, listen to something good, and go get 8 miles, get 10 miles. He said, you can do it." And I was like, "No, I can't do that." He's like, "I'm telling you, man, it's all here. It's all mental." And he's like, "Man, go slow." And this is before I did intervals. This is just, back, I didn't believe it was a real run if I stopped. Like, I didn't stop for water, nothing back then. And I did that. And I did that for, I got up to 10 miles, and I'd run, there's a time I was doing 40, 50 miles a week, something like that. And then some dummy called me and said, "Hey, you like Star Wars? I like Disney. Let's go run this challenge." And no, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. "Come on, man, let's go do it." And the person coercing me doesn't, I'd ask him, "Hey, something about running." He's like, "Man, I don't run unless I'm running after a biscuit or somebody's chasing me or something." He say something like that, and talked me into going to that race. And he said, "Yeah, there's this one called Dopey, but I'd never do that. That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And then, he kept doing races, and, he joined, he was part of the Lizards running club. And when I went to that race, everybody knew who I was. His first race too, but for some reason, everybody knew who he was. They're like, "Oh, you're Gene. You must be Gene because you're with Lonnie." And spoiler alert, it's Lonnie I'm talking about. But in the training for that, a friend of mine challenged me on my 45th birthday. He's like, "You're going to go run this half marathon." I was running, I'd gotten up to about 10 miles again at that point. And a friend said, "Hey, you should go out and just run 12.1, just get it done, And so I did that on my 45th birthday. At that point, it was the farthest I'd run. And then ran that half marathon, and then, did training, but I didn't do, the full dopey training. And on my 40, I don't know, how many miles is dopey, the whole thing?
48.6.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And,
I did,
and,
I think it
and
was,
the historical record as well, half marathon is 13.1. You said you did 12.
no, that's what I meant 13. I meant 13.1. I'm sorry.
I don't want to correct you. You're on the road.
No,
It's kind of
but,
like Germany, Pearl Harbor. But
Also for the record, marathon weekend is also always Jean's birthday. Like they're always
Yeah.
at the same time.
So it was my 47th birthday that I ran my first marathon. So I know the dates. But and the last time I ran dopey, I ran a marathon. I said, "I'll never do this again," and I probably won't. But people, man, peer pressure is terrible. I'm just saying. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's why I started running. I'm about to quit.
all right, man. I forgot what the question was.
I know, right?
I'm gonna have to cut that just to get under the limit of podcasting. So yeah, like
See,
Gene
man,
said,
that's why.
look, I was listening to a podcast. They had said, hey, they was excited. Star Wars Dark Side was coming. I was like, Dark Side? Hold on. I think I actually paused it and called Gene and said, hey, bro, there's this race coming up and we need to go sign up for it. It's at Disney and it's called the Dark Side Challenge. And it's the first time it's going to be there. It's the first time because usually the dark side it wasn't represented. And Gene said, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it," and the rest is history.
Yeah, I said it that easy. I was a pushover.
I mean, I don't make you feel bad, but I mean, you are easily coerced. I don't know. I know what it is, man. I'm just trying to say you're not the hardest person to get to do something, especially because you want to do it anyway. So that's just how it is, man. I know you want to do it more than you know you want to do it, so it makes it easy. But enough of that. So thank you guys for entertaining that. So look, like we said, episode 133, Crystal runs Disneyland. Now, as you guys know, we all went to the first races that returned to Disneyland back in January. Well, some of us did. Gene didn't, but the rest of us did. We had some very strong opinions leaving that race. Right? In fact, I think the strongest opinions all came from Jody. My opinion was more about the lack of lobster nachos downstairs, but that's a complete other story. We're not going to talk about that. But we had we love the parks, but we had some issues with the races. So, Crystal, that's why I'm so happy that you're here today to kind of tell us about your experiences. So, let's start off like this, right? So, tell us about your travel. How did you get to California?
Well, we got up bright and early and on Wednesday morning before the races and took a 7 a.m. flight out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I had my 2 little children and my husband. My daughter, who's 6, hasn't been on an airplane since she was 6 months, and my 4-year-old son has never been on an airplane. So wow. I had a lot of anxiety about this flight. I bought probably every activity book, whatever you could buy, I bought. My husband was about ready to divorce me when he saw the Amazon bill because he's like, what did you buy? And I'm like, I bought everything, every coloring book, every activity book, every sticker, every magnetic puzzle you could possibly imagine because this has to go well. Meanwhile, I'm a nervous flyer. So as long as it's smooth, I'm cool. The minute it gets bumpy, I have a death grip on the sides of the seat. So I also needed them to be okay for my own sanity because I don't want to pass down my anxiety to my children. So I needed them to be cool so I could hopefully be cool. So early flight, and thank goodness it was perfect. This flight was perfect. I could not have asked for anything better, and it even got in early. So that was fabulous.
Which airport did you fly into?
LAX.
Oh,
it was the only way I could get a direct flight. I'm about an hour from Fort Lauderdale. I'm up in the West Palm Beach area. So we have a much closer airport. But again, nervous flyer, children who don't fly. I needed this to go well. I can't lose luggage. I have too many tennis shoes and too many running skirts. We had to be okay. So we drove the 45 minutes to an hour to an airport that wasn't as close. And then we did choose LAX because I could get it direct. But it went well. We got off at LAX. My husband had researched how to get an Uber with car seats because that was another point of contention. Are we bringing the car seats? Are we getting a bus? What kind of transportation can you get where you don't need a seatbelt, don't need a car seat? Went round and round. And my husband bought an Uber gift card, very confident that he could find an Uber with 2 car seats. Well, when you get to LAX, you go and you have to get on a tram and you have to go to this place where all the Ubers are. And we get there and do you think we found an Uber with 2 car seats? We did not find an Uber with 2 car seats. So after all of this rigmarole, we try to get back on this tram, and the lady looks at us and she's like, "What do you think you're doing?" And we're like, "We have to get back. We need to find a Disneyland transportation bus." And she's like, "I'm going on a break." And some wonderful man approached us and said, "What is happening?" And we told him, and he said, "I got you." He called Mickey's spaceship shuttle with a man named Tyler, who came in 10 minutes, had a booster seat, had a car seat. We had no other people on there, no other stops to make. He brought us right to the Disneyland Hotel, and I could not have been more grateful to Tyler. So there's a plug for him. If anybody's running out in Anaheim, call Tyler. He was fabulous.
And what was the name of that company?
Mickey's Spaceship Shuttle. If you Google it, it will come up.
Okay. Good tip, because, LAX is a gigantic airport. It's always under construction. Getting from even the terminal to the rental car facility takes 25 years off your life. So I can't imagine doing that with two little kids who have just now flown for the first time. First of all, I also have to ask, what was their favorite activity out of all the choices that you brought them?
So my daughter liked these suction cup giraffes. So the feet and the hands could suction cup to the tray table or to themselves. So you could connect the hands to each other or to one of the other giraffes. And then the legs stretched. So you could stretch the arms, stretch the legs, tangle them all up, stick them to the tray table, all of the things. And they lit up. So she got a kick out of that for whatever reason. And then my son mostly wanted to watch the TV, which that's to my horror, but I didn't want him in front of the screen for 4 hours. But we did some activities, we did some books, and then he was content with that, and it was okay.
You know what? You survived the flight. That's all that matters.
Disneyland Hotel, great hotel to stay at for races. What's your experience with checking in?
Check-in was easy. I think we did it on the phone. We got there pretty early in the morning, so we didn't expect our room to be ready. We gave our luggage to the people in the very front, and then within 5 minutes, by the time we walked through the sliding glass doors, we got a message saying that our room was ready.
Wow.
So we were really lucky.
That's awesome.
We stayed in the DVC tower, which is brand new. So it was, it's always nice to have a room that's not super lived in yet. So that was lovely. I loved the wallpaper in the hallways. If anybody goes there, look at the wallpaper. It's white, but then in these silver beads that have texture that are 3-dimensional are all the Disney characters. It's the most beautiful wallpaper I've ever seen.
Oh,
yeah, I loved it.
Lonnie G, I think our DVC points, your DVC points and my DVC points separately may work there. So we'll have to.
There you go.
Possibly. So that you stayed in you stayed in the DVC tower of the Disneyland Hotel.
Correct.
New tower. That's the brand new one.
The brand new tower.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes.
And in a studio or 1 bedroom or?
It was just a studio.
No, you're in a studio. That's awesome.
New studio, not just a new one, which is pretty.
I would have loved to have had a 1 bedroom, solely for the kitchen. That was one of the other reasons we did choose the DVC room. We're DVC members, but we bought it resale. We're Florida residents, so we don't need all of those perks because you get them when you are a Florida resident. So we got a fantastic deal on some Boulder Ridge points. We are DVC members, but we can't use them at that tower. And we can use them at Grand Californian, but our wait list never came in, as we knew it would not. But my kids do not eat gluten, dairy, corn, soy, or any of their derivatives. So it would have been nicer to have a full kitchen. We ran into some issues kind of with the food a little bit in Disneyland, which we don't typically run into at Disney World, but certainly having what the studio has, the refrigerator, the microwave, and just place to put food was extremely helpful for us in particular.
Oh yeah. So first day, your room was ready early. Did you go into the parks? Was it a park day? How did you spend the rest of your day?
We didn't. Because the bags were ready, we got everything upstairs, we unpacked a little bit, and on the plane, I had placed a Whole Foods delivery order for us. So the delivery came pretty quickly, and we then went out into downtown Disney to grab some food and to just explore a little bit and get our bearings before our full park day the next day.
Was this your first trip to Disneyland?
I have been to Disneyland 2 other times. Very brief visits. The first visit was a day visit and it was years ago. And then the second visit was the last leg of our honeymoon. We went from New Zealand to Tahiti to Disneyland and then home on our honeymoon.
Wow.
So it wasn't a huge part of our trip, but we did stay a few days. But we haven't been since then, and my kids have never been.
Well, yeah. So this was your kids' first flights, and so they're 6 and 4, so they're very first. Now they're seasoned Walt Disney World guest, correct?
They are.
Okay. So what was their impression seeing Disneyland compared to Disney World?
I think that's a good question. When we got into downtown Disney that first day, they could relate that to Disney Springs. And the first thing they asked me was, where's the pizza? Because they wanted Blaze Pizza, because we can get gluten-free and dairy-free pizza there that they can have. And so I'm like, they don't have the pizza. And they're looking at me horrified. They're like, but what about the ice cream? They do have the ice cream. Salt and Straw offers some ice cream that they can have. So thank goodness that saved us. But the overall impression, I think that they really liked it. And I think they found things similar and familiar, but also different at the same time. But their main objective was to get on to Radiator Springs Racers. Like this was the culmination of their life. Like they have waited their whole life for that moment. So just knowing that that was what was coming, they knew that there was going to be some differences. But I think they also felt like, hey, you know, we kind of know this. This feels familiar and comfortable. We can hang. We got this.
Nice.
So Wednesday, you guys spent time at Disney or downtown Disney, and you walked around and you got familiar with the area. That's a long day of travel and time zone difference and everything. So did you do anything that evening, or did you just call it a night?
We went back to the hotel. We put on our bathing suits. We enjoyed the pool. The kids loved the slide, and the splash pad there on the DVC side is adorable. It's Steamboat Willie. It has all these fountains and all of these things, and it's black and white. But at nighttime, when they put the lights on it, it turns into color.
Oh, wow.
Which is really neat. We actually didn't stay that late to see it light up that day, but it's really nice. So we had a nice time there, and then we went back to the room, and we had dinner in the room. My kids had soup from Whole Foods, and my husband and I ordered from Tangaroa Terrace, and it was pretty good. I had some shrimp and rice and broccoli, and it was good.
Awesome.
That's called magic, Gene. When it goes from black and white to color at night, that's magic.
Yeah.
Disney.
Disney magic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Thursday morning, here's my big question for you. Were your kids up at 4 a.m.?
My kids were up at 4 a.m.
Oh, wow.
We also have a
East
rule,
Coast
though.
time.
We have clocks in their room. They can't get out of bed until the clock says 6. But sure enough, at 4-ish, I hear little voices, can we get up? I think it says 6. They're looking at the thermostat that says like 67 degrees. It says 6. It says 6. That is not the clock. The clock's on the microwave. It says 4. You have to wait until 5 to get out of the bed. So we rested and we did the best we could. We were up early and we were first in line to get into that park.
Radiator Springs was calling, and they got an answer.
Very true, but we didn't go. We went to Disneyland.
Oh, just make them wait. Okay, that's right.
Make them wait. Truth be told, there was early entry at Disneyland that day. So we wanted to take advantage of the early entry.
Smart. So where did you go first?
First thing we did was the little rides in Fantasyland where you can't get a lightning lane. So we did Peter Pan first. Then I think we went to Snow White, and then Mr. Toad, and then Pinocchio, and then we jumped over to Alice and did all those little rides first because we wanted to do that before the park opened at, I guess it was 9 o'clock or whatever it was that day.
So funny that you said that. Lonnie, you know what I realized? We missed some of those when we were out there in January. We never did Alice. At least I never did Alice. Did you do Alice? Yeah, we never did Alice. We never did. I know we did Mr. Toad's, and we did Casey Jr., and we did Storybook Canals, but we missed another one that's really unique out there. I can't think of what, but yeah, we missed some. So
Yeah. Yeah, we
oh
were
well.
just, we're in a zone. We had a
We
set.
were. We were. So that was also Expo Day, right? Thursday was Expo Day.
That was Expo Day.
Okay, so
So
how did so you were at the parks early, and then with the kids, and I'm assuming your husband, and then when did you get over to Expo?
So midday, when I was walking into the parks, I said, "Oh my goodness, you can mobile order a Starbucks from downtown Disney. I'm just going to pick it up on the way to the park." Ha ha! It was 45 minutes, and I said, "I'm not waiting 45 minutes." So I let it sit there, and so about midday, I said, "Well, I'm just going to go see if my Starbucks is still sitting there waiting for me." So I walk over there and they're laughing and they're like, "No, we throw those away after 2 hours, ma'am, but we'll make you another one for free." I said, "Yes, please." Wow. So they did that for me. My number had also already been called for the merchandise.
Yeah, virtual queue.
So my number was ready. I went by myself. My husband stayed with the kids in the park. They are used to Run Disney Expos. They've been to every single one of them. This was actually the first one I haven't dragged them to. So, but it was just kind of nice to go by myself because they don't like it, honestly. They want to get out of there. And I don't usually love the merch, but because it was Disneyland and I'm not out there, I wanted to take the time to at least look at it. So I went by myself, I grabbed my Starbucks, I got my bibs, and went and looked at the merchandise, which I bought none of. And I waited in a very long line, even though my number was called.
So just nothing part of you're like, this is not worth it.
Everything said Halloween on it. And I said to myself, am I really going to wear a jacket that says Disneyland Halloween half marathon in December, February? I won't wear it. And the things are so costly if you're not going to wear it. I did look at the shirts and then I think to myself, I just got 4 free shirts. Do I really need to spend this much money on a shirt? If I had loved something, I would have gotten it. But it just, for the money, a lot of that stuff to me is just okay.
Yeah. And was it like our experience, Bonnie and I, we had different buildings and upstairs and downstairs and over and around and like, was it still?
Yes, it was a little confusing. I wasn't exactly sure where to go. I had to ask.
I mean, Disney World has 3 buildings, so it's not like it's very simple there either, but Disneyland, I felt like you were in one building and then you had to go out a certain way and then you had to go upstairs, but you could only go upstairs a certain way, but you weren't allowed to exit. I mean, it was I felt like they needed arrows on the floor or something to tell you which way to go. And I don't know. I thought it was challenging.
The part to get your bibs was that way, where you had to go upstairs and you could only go a certain way and you could only come down a certain way. But the other part where not the paid merchandise, but the other place where you go and pick up your shirts and they have the shocks and the goos and all the skirts and all of that. That was very easy. You when you walked in the building, you knew where that was. And then they had the paid merchandise, just like a fake wall was put up between those two, and then it was the paid merchandise that it had a giant line, so you knew where to get in line for that. But the part with the bibs was a little bit, I didn't know where to go. I had to ask someone.
Yeah.
Hey, Crystal, I have a question. You're talking about like the merch that you weren't interested in. It doesn't sound like you saw any Spirit jerseys then, because I would assume, just from what my friends say about Spirit jerseys, that if you'd have seen one, you're just like, I gotta have that. Is that you didn't see any Spirit jerseys?
I saw lots of Spirit jerseys,
but
I am like Jody said, I'm a peanut, and even the extra small Spirit jersey I drowned in it. It's just not for me.
I mean, give me all the Spirit jerseys. Mickey gets some money.
I would have bought you one.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. Gene wears them all the time. I'm telling you, he has a Cowboy Spirit jersey. Who wears that too? So good deal. I'm glad you had a good time at the expo. Looks like, from what you're saying, it's still kind of just a little bit, the here, the there. I guess it's because it's in 2 buildings.
I think it's just the way the Disneyland Hotel is laid out, to be honest with you. Because even when I was in the main lobby getting ready to go, I was looking for the bathroom. The bathroom was down some stairs and around a corner. And I think that hotel, from what I understand, looks nothing like it did when it was actually built in the first place. They've done so many renovations and so many changes to it that I think things are just strange because it's old.
Yeah.
Like these things would never pass ADA compliance now if they tried to build them now. So I think part of it is they can't get away from it. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Good point.
So you made it through Expo, you got all your bibs, you got all your shirts, ready to go. And tell everybody what races you were going to run.
I ran all of them because now, after I saw the woman with all the medals, I can't not run all of them when I show up. Isn't that terrible?
You have chosen.
You're talking to the wrong crowd if you think that we're going to tell you that's terrible.
Somebody brought that up in one of the groups I'm a part of. Can someone just celebrate the fact that they ran one race and not put the word just in front of it? I just did the 5K, or apologize. Oh yeah, no, I just did that. I'm sorry. I don't know. We should be more proud of just doing one thing, but it's okay. We all have this issue.
I agree. So did you go meet your family then after Expo, or?
I met them. We did a few more rides, and then we had an early dinner reservation at Goofy's Kitchen. And when I say early, I mean 4:15, because to us it's late at night, so we're hungry for dinner at 4:00.
How was Goofy's Kitchen? We did not go there. How was your experience there?
We had a great experience, but it may be because of the allergy situation that we have. I did a lot of research actually on the food because it's important for us. And I really didn't come up with a lot. And then somebody had mentioned in another group that they use Goofy's Kitchen and their kids have allergies, and the chef will basically make you anything that you want. And I said, well, no, it's $75 a person, but no problem if they're going to make me whatever I want. So we did go. The characters were all dressed in their Halloween costumes, so that was special and neat. And true to form, the chef came out. He showed us everything on the buffet that my kids could have, and then he said, what do you want me to make you? I'll just make it. And so he brought lots of different things for my kids to have. So we had a really good experience there. And my husband, who can eat anything that he wants, also had a great experience there. He said the food was great. He had a great time.
That's good to hear. I've heard mixed reviews of Goofy's Kitchen, but I'm glad to hear that you had a good experience and that they were accommodating with your allergy needs, because that's important.
Yes. We had
in particular, coming from Walt Disney World, where we're so accustomed to them being able to, accommodate for various allergens. So.
Right. Yeah. It was definitely a different experience. And comparing and contrasting the two, especially at Walt Disney World, you can get gluten-free French fries almost anywhere. And in Disneyland, they're actually very hard to find. And for kids,
I would think in California,
I can't get a gluten-free chicken nugget and I can't get a gluten-free French fry in this place. So that was challenging. But Goofy's Kitchen was really, really good about that. So we were grateful for sure.
You would just think California would be further along.
I thought they would be further along, but it is what it is.
Who knows?
That's what I was thinking.
All right. So Friday, first race.
Big day. Big day.
Jean, did you know what the theme was for the 5K?
Mickey Mouse. I don't remember. No, I don't.
That's all right. It's a new race. So, Crystal, what was the theme for the 5K?
It was Chip and Dale, but the funniest part about this was that the announcers called it like 15 different things. They kept saying, it's the Halloween 5K, it's the Trick or Treat 5K. See,
I don't even know. You expect me to know? The announcers don't even know?
So that's so funny. So funny that you said that. Do you listen to the 3, 2, 1 Go podcast with Carissa and John?
Yes.
So Carissa just did a race recap, and she said that they called it like 15 different, like the Trick or Treat 5K, the Halloween 5K, the Chip and Dale 5K. Like they called it 1,000 things too. So
yeah, nobody knew what to call it. But I have to say, this is my favorite race I've ever run.
And why?
Why?
Well,
the marathon.
That's part of it. No, I loved that it started in the park.
Yes.
I loved that
Hmm.
there was it had a different vibe than a Disney World 5K. There was something more intimate about this race. It seemed like it was a smaller scale. I mean, nothing can really take away from the grandeur of being on Main Street. And they've got all of the lighting effects. The lighting packages are all going, and it was beautiful. So, but it felt smaller and less overwhelming. And I don't know. There was a charm to it that Walt Disney World doesn't have, especially like in Epcot. And maybe it's because I'm just used to running 5Ks in Epcot, and I've done a few of them at this point. So maybe I'm a little bored. But there was something about, I got up, I walked into the park. It was like a party, and they were ready to see me. And all of the festivity was done right in front of the castle. So you've got the castle view while they're entertaining you. And the start line was like this little balloon arch. It wasn't even like a big deal. And the finish line was barely there. I don't even know if there was a thing that said finish. It was like there was a big crowd of people, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is the finish. But there was a lot of characters out. It seemed like I was constantly entertained. I wasn't on a roadway. I wasn't in a parking lot. It was park time 100%. And I was into it.
I will say the 5K out there, I agree with you. It's the Walt Disney World 5K is way too much backstage. To the point when my daughter ran her first 5K, she was like, why do you always brag about these races? This kind of stinks. Like we were about a mile and a half in until we saw the first character, and it's all, looking at back sides of things, and it was not very entertaining. I do think that I agree with you. The 5K in Disneyland, the fact that it starts on Main Street is pretty fantastic. It really is.
And everything's lit up. Like you're in all the parks, and they all are lit up the entire time. And it was great. I felt like this is what I thought it would be like. This is when I wanted to run a Disney race. This is what I thought I was getting. I felt like it delivered.
Now, Lonnie and I had maybe a different experience. We had some challenge with some cast members who were less than enthusiastic about us embracing the 5K and taking our time and enjoying every moment. How was your experience with the cast members out there?
I had no issues with any cast members. I was in Corral B for the 5K, so I don't know if I would have had a different experience if I were farther back in the corrals. I will say that as much as I like the 5K, I know that a lot of people had difficulty with security in the morning. I did not. I was there early, but a few of the people from the Lizard group wanted to meet and take a picture. And so I'm standing in front of the hat shop on Main Street, just kind of twiddling my thumbs, waiting. And I'm basically like the last person now in the park waiting to start to walk down Main Street. And I'm messaging Andrea, and I'm saying, where are you? She's like, I'm stuck in security. Look at this line. And I'm like, what line? I didn't have that experience. But to me, what I think happened is they let in a certain amount of people, myself being one of the last people, and then they didn't allow any more people in until the corrals actually opened. Because once they started moving people down Main Street, I was like looking around like, I'm the last one. I guess I have to move. I have to move forward here. That's when they reopened it and let more people in. So I know some people had a negative experience with that day one, but I didn't have that experience.
Good. I think we enjoyed the 5K. We had, like I said, the one issue that Judy mentioned at the end of the race. But I think, for us, I think it was the welcome back celebration. So, they had fireworks, all on Main Street as they kind of did the whole welcome back from Disney, and they went fireworks down one side and cross and then up the other side. It was really nice. And to your point, it was all part time, right? So I think the 5K overall, Now they did say, I think they were sweeping for the 5K for us though, which is a little different because usually at Disney they don't really sweep for the 5K, but because it was all park, that was another thing. I mean, we were in line for it in kitchen. And they came and told us you're gonna get swept from, and I'm like, how you get swept on a 5K? Like they're sweeping with a golf cart, like they're just riding up with a golf cart and sweeping people. So
Wow.
Oh,
I didn't
see,
hear
that's
any of
nice.
that, and not to say that it didn't happen this time, but I didn't hear that.
well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So maybe they made some changes. That's why I'm thinking this maybe some positive changes. Okay.
And Crystal, what did you wear? I already know the answer to this, but you're great at costuming. So what did you wear for the 5K?
I was a Tower of Terror bellhop, because I say just because the Guardians took over the tower, it doesn't mean that the ghosts aren't still there. So I was actually hoping that they were going to have a PhotoPass photographer at the tower, and they did not. But that's okay. I ran past it. It was lit up, and I had my moment anyway where I was haunting them.
I love it. I love it. All right. So then did you hit the parks after the 5K?
100%. My kids just were waiting for me. Hurry up. Come on, let's go. Because now we're getting ready to go into the to Disney California Adventure, and we're getting Queen. So this is something now. And by the way, my children had carefully coordinated special outfits for every day. So we are getting on our Lightning McQueen matching outfits, our coordinating outfits as a family, and we are getting ready to go. I will say it was supposed to be early entry for California Adventure. So we are there, we are dressed and ready, and we are at the front of the line. And my husband starts looking at me like, they're supposed to be letting us in. Like, what is going on here? And turns out, because of the races, they changed the early entry. It was not anywhere. Even in our room, we had printed up schedules of what the early entry should be, and it was every other day. Disneyland, DCA, Disneyland, DCA, and they changed it, and they didn't print it, and they didn't put it on the website. And so my husband got on chat with Disney, was like, what is going on? And they're like, oh yeah, we changed it because of the races. My husband's like, like, you didn't tell anybody? And they're like, no, sorry. And they were very unapologetic about the fact that they had changed this. So we waited outside DCA and considered, because Disneyland's right across the Esplanade, going in there and using the early entry, but we needed to get on Lightning McQueen. So we said, no, we're basically first in line. We're going to stick it out, and we're going to get to Lightning McQueen. But my kids were like vibrating at this point when they get in the line. Everybody's looking at my kids going, where did you get these outfits? How is this happening? And like, my son is just so excited. And I'm looking at people like, you don't understand. He has waited his entire life for this moment.
And they're 4 and 6. They're up early. Like, the fact that they didn't update the app or update the push notifications, nothing got updated. That's really hard. And it's hard to explain to kids, like, yeah, we're here, but they're not letting us in.
Right. It wasn't great. My husband had like a bee in his bonnet the entire time. And in fact, they actually made it so DCA was the early entry for every other day after that. And so we only ended up with one day in Disneyland for early entry because they changed this. We had planned to go every other day like it was originally scheduled. So we ended up with only early entry in Disneyland one of the days, unfortunately. So that was kind of a bummer, and my husband was not happy and also very displeased with their blasé attitude about it. Like, yeah, so we can kind of do whatever we want, and we don't owe you any kind of an explanation for it. So it wasn't great, but by the time we got on that line and that Lightning McQueen car pulled up, because that was the other thing. He's like, are we gonna get lightning? Are we gonna get lightning? And sure enough, that Lightning McQueen car, that red car pulled up, and he's just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get in. And so we get in, and who wins? We win. So like, this is just one of these experiences as a parent where you're like, this is the most magical thing, because like his dream just came true in real life in this moment. I mean, he's got the outfit, he's got the car, he wins the race, he's got his hands up, and it was amazing.
So even though it was kind of not a great way for them to not tell you about the change of the early entry, but you were still first in line, got there, rope dropped. Had it all work out?
It worked out. It worked out, and it was a great day. We spent most of the day in DCA, and then later on we went over to Disneyland a little bit too.
Because park hopping, I was just trying to explain this to someone. Park hopping in Disneyland is not park hopping in Disney World. I mean, it's totally different beast. You could just walk, like it's right there. You know, it's maybe the length of a football field. I don't know. I mean, it's not even far at all. So you could just go from one to the other.
Right. Yeah. It's so easy. And that was one of the things that actually was really great for us, especially with younger children in comparison to Walt Disney World. The travel time to get from place to place is just so much better at Disneyland. You can go from one park to another without having to get on a bus, a boat, a monorail. And with little children, it just makes that a lot easier. So that's a benefit for sure.
All right. So 5K day, you love the race. You'd rank it higher than a Disney World 5K.
I would.
Everything went well. You got to go ride the ride that you've been waiting for. Perfect Friday.
Perfect Friday. We found a place that could give my kids some pasta they could eat. My son, who's too short to ride Space Mountain at Disney World, could ride it at Disneyland. So we did that. It was a great day. And then we went back, and the benefit is, even though we're going to bed early because it's East Coast time, getting up for a race, or rather I'm on East Coast time. So getting up for a race, it doesn't seem so bad. It's almost like I'm getting up at 5 a.m. instead of 2 a.m. like a Disney World race. So that was kind of a nice bonus when you travel west for the races.
Nice. Oh, one question I have for you that we didn't discuss yet. The heat. So it was ridiculously hot in Anaheim when you were out there. You're from Florida, so you're used to hot. It's not like hot is foreign to you. And it's not like you're coming from, Antarctica going to 100-degree heat. But how did you all handle that? Because it was outrageously hot.
Yeah, it's dry heat.
It's a different heat. It's a dry heat. I will say the mornings with the races were very comfortable for me.
Okay.
It's not until you get to noon, 1 o'clock, that you go, this is hot. And the ground beneath me is hot. And so you're sort of getting the heat from the pavement come up at you, and it's blazing down on you. So hydration for sure, lots of water. I got my electrolyte drinks delivered from Whole Foods. I kept those in my room, and I was very diligent about that while I was out there. I'm sort of like a camel at home. Like I don't drink a lot of water. I'm very bad about that. But when I'm running, I have to be very present with the fact that I need to be hydrating, especially the day before. And certainly because of the heat, I was very aware of that. But I will say in the mornings, I didn't think it was hot during the races. I didn't.
Good. That's great. Okay. 10K day. This course for me was my favorite course out of the 3 that we ran back in January. So 10K day was on Saturday. And let's start off with what was the theme and what did you wear?
So the theme was Haunted Mansion. And I wore a shirt that said Foolish Mortal. And I had a Haunted Mansion wallpaper, the purple wallpaper. I had that on my skirt.
I have shoes with that and a purse with that.
So good.
Love it. Because it's just, if I carry the purse around in real life, people don't know, but like people who know. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
I love it. So what did you think of this race? So you've done plenty of 10Ks in Walt Disney World. Now this is your first 10K in Disneyland.
I loved this too. For whatever reason, I thought the 5K was more fun. Maybe just because it was over sooner. But the same type of idea where it's a lot of park time. I will say there was a bus situation that was not sort of awesome in the morning. To my knowledge, the only transportation that Disney provided for the races were if you were staying on property. And so because I was staying at Disneyland Hotel, I was supposed to get a bus So great, good for me. I'm going to get on a bus. I go downstairs and there's a huge line, and I'm there early. Like when they say they're running buses at 3:15, I was there at 3:17. And there is a huge line, and one of the buses is pulling up, and it's like a city bus, like what you would see in your city. And so I'm accustomed to the ginormous buses that they provide at Walt Disney World. And I'm looking at this bus going, who's fitting on this? 10 people? I mean, where are all the buses? What is going on? And so it was a bit of a nightmare. People were panicking. People that were coming much later than I was there are looking at this line going, I'm not getting on a bus and I have to walk, and it's a 40-minute walk to the start. So people towards the end of the line got to a point where they just started walking.
Wow.
When I finally got on a bus, the bus driver was so hysterical. She gets everybody on the bus and she goes, guys, I got to be honest with you. This bus was not sprinkled with pixie dust. I was not supposed to work this. They called me 5 minutes ago. I can tell you, I ran this race in January, so I do know where the start line is, and I promise you, I'm going to get you as close as I possibly can to the start line, but I have no idea what's going on. And so we're all laughing and going, okay, like, just get us there, and it's fine. Yeah. A bunch of the roads she tried to take were closed, so that was not awesome, but she was delightful and got us there. And we had to walk a little bit, but it was fine. And she took us to like an alternate place to get through security. And so at that point, I missed the next lizard picture that everybody tried to arrange. So we didn't get I wasn't in that one, but they did figure out a way to meet. So there was less of a security issue, but more of a bus problem on this morning. So I guess my biggest frustration with that was, I get it. It's the second time you're doing races in Disneyland, but you know how to provide bus transportation. You do this multiple times a year in Walt Disney World. You know how many buses you need. So I didn't know, because I think they were City of Anaheim buses. So maybe they're farming this out. They're paying the bus company to come and do this, and maybe there's not enough, I don't know, but I found that curious. I know you're not necessarily accustomed to doing it here, but you do know how to do this. It's pretty efficient in Walt Disney World.
Interesting you say that. We have been told, and I don't know if this is true, so I could be spreading false rumors, and Lonnie, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have been told that the races are not in the same departments. So one is run by Run Disney and one is run by like Disney Events or something, and they're not the same organization. And so maybe they don't share trade secrets. Again, not sure if any of that.
So it's like the joke with the FBI and the CIA, they don't talk to each other kind of a thing.
Right.
Meanwhile, they could be helping each other.
Right.
I find that short-sighted. I hope that's not true, but it would make a lot of sense.
We join you in your frustration, because that is very short-sighted. And, it's crazy because we asked the same question, like, why is it like this? And that's when we got the answer in California. It's like, oh, it's too different. I'm like, but it's the same company. It's like, yeah, but no. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, no. And I'm like, no, yes. And I'm glad you mentioned in this whole, because we stayed offsite in full transparency. So we stayed right by the start line. And that's one of the benefits of being in California, right? You don't have to stay. I think staying on site is, you have your own set of unique benefits, but staying off site also provides you those same benefits, because for us, for the 10K and the half, we just walked out our room, took a left, walked down the block, and that was the entryway for the 10 and a half, right, Jody? So then it was, walk another block, and that's the entry to get into the park. So that's a benefit for Disney, that you can actually stay in a lot of third-party resorts, Marriott, Howard Johnson, all that, and you're right there. And you can literally, sometimes the walk is closer than being on site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So how was the race for you? Did you enjoy the 10K?
I had a great time. It was similar. inexperienced to the 5K, a little bit more running through the city and a little bit more running through the backstage areas. But I will say the characters that they had out for this race were great. Like I like it when they sort of stick to the theme, and they did. They had lots of Haunted Mansion characters out. They kind of stuck to, it was more Halloweenish. They had the hitchhiking ghost, and I wanted to stand in that line so bad, and I didn't. I sort of have a rule about the characters. I'll do it if the line is short, but I'm not going to stand in a 30-minute wait to get a photo. I'm just not.
Okay. Let me say that Crystal, if we haven't said this, we found Crystal at mile 18 or whatever, the full marathon in 2023. And at that point in time,
she was just wandering around.
She was by herself, and we're like, "Hey, Lizard," and I was like, "Wait a minute, I know who you are because your sunglasses." And at that point in time, our rule was we were stopping for every character because we just wanted to stop. We were sick of running, so we were like, "Hey, we're stopping." I think your first picture was with us was maybe with like Woody and Jesse and all of them, or something like that. We're like, "We're stopping for every character." Now, at that point in time, the line was maybe had one or two people in front of us, but I'm like, "We're stopping for everybody because we need the break." So,
did you see Lonnie nod along when Crystal was saying that? Like, "Oh yeah, I'm with you, girl. Oh yeah, absolutely." No. Lonnie, Lonnie will stop for everybody, and it doesn't matter how long the line is. He doesn't care.
Sir, allow me to retort. That is not true. You know, I have a set limit.
Lonnie never met a picture opportunity that he didn't like. I'm just telling you.
You know, man, sometimes you just, I don't know. I'm not saying you're misleading our fans, but you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Why are you the way you are, G? Just answer that.
Oh, here we go again. Kristen, did you find there were enough PhotoPass photographers on the race? Because that was another maybe something that we found a little bit different from Walt Disney World is the lack of PhotoPass photographers. Did you think that there were enough on your course?
I thought it was fine. When there wasn't a PhotoPass photographer, there was somebody there willing to take your picture with your phone.
Okay.
So yes, I do think that there were less actual photographers, but enough to where it was fine, to where somebody would take your picture with your phone if you wanted the picture taken. And that didn't bother me.
All right.
Yeah. Jody loved the 10K. That's because she was chasing behind somebody. She won't say she was chasing him, but she saw him, but I think it was more chasing.
I think I know who it is.
Yeah. Josh Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I did kind of look for him.
Yeah.
Because I knew you had seen him last time, and I was like, I wonder if he's here.
Yeah. I had a really good time running behind him. It was nice.
Yes, she did.
About that.
Yes, she did. So 10K is over. You had a blast. Look, I would love it for them to have a Haunted Mansion race at Disney World. Really, I think that would be outstanding. I love that ride. So you finished up, went back. How was transportation back? Actually, you was able to walk back, or you guys ended in the park, right?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Probably ended in the parking lot, right?
No, very close to where the start line was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's the same spot. Okay, now I'm remembering.
But I did walk back for that race. They tried to well, I will say maybe that was the one interaction with a cast member that I was kind of like, really? So you finish up, you get your medal, and then they have the food trucks, and you can take your picture if you want to in front of the Run Disney background. And then there's just like this teeny tiny little doorway where you can leave. And so I'm looking around and I'm going, I don't know where the bus is, and I don't know where I am. And I don't know if I want to walk through this portal because I can't get back if I'm in the wrong place. So I did ask somebody, and I said, where's the bus? And she's like, she really didn't know. And she had a Run Disney shirt on. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, but you can get right back to the Esplanade that way. And I'm like, well, which way? And so she's sort of like directing me, and it wasn't super clear. And so I said to myself, there's enough people here. I can probably figure out where to go between people who are walking and whatever. So I kind of found my own way back. It wasn't too bad. But yeah, I think they did have buses, but it was not clear to me where I was supposed to pick it up. And by the time I knew where I was and had my bearings, it it wasn't too bad of a walk.
I mean, you say it was city buses. You got to, you hop on the wrong bus, you end up in Long Beach. So I think you did the right thing to walk there, right? Let me ask this: were there photo pass photographers after the race in front of the backdrops?
Yes.
Okay, so see, Joe, that's good because last time they didn't, and we're like, where the photo pass photographers? So that's at least they learned that. That's good.
But they didn't have the sweet little paddles that you hold up with the distance. I was looking for those.
Yeah.
And they didn't have those.
Yep.
But they did have.
Hold up your own piece of paper. I did it.
I just held up my medal, but there's something about those.
Yeah. Okay. So walk back. Love where you're staying because, like you said, you walk right to the park from where you are, not too far. So what did you do the rest of that day?
We went back to DCA for the early entry because now I have no choice but to do that for early entry. Did more Lightning McQueen, got on. My daughter loved the Guardians of the Galaxy. So we had to make that a priority in the morning.
She's cool. That's why.
She's very cool. So cool to the point where when it got dark, we put her on the Monsters After Dark version. And so I called my husband because I'm alone with her. He's taking my son on Spider-Man, who did not like Guardians of the Galaxy. And I said, there's a sign out here that in big bold letters says, may be very frightening for young children. Do you think this is a good idea? And my husband goes, yeah, it's fine. And I look at her and I'm like, it says it's a little scary. You okay? I'm fine. I'm not scared of this ride. And then we go into the little place where Rocket talks to you about it. And he's like, okay, when you see a scary monster, scream. And she looks up at me. She goes, I'm really good at screaming. And the whole room is like cracking up because she's this teeny tiny thing talking about how she's really good at screaming at the monsters. And she loved it. And I even asked her today, I said, if they asked me on the podcast what you liked the best, what would you say? She goes, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, Monsters After Dark. Okay. She is my child, I think.
I love it.
Oh yeah, I think we rode that ride 3-4 times. I mean, we rode
Guardians a lot. We didn't get to ride Monsters After Dark, but we did.
We didn't have it at that point. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it's just a Halloween thing.
Was Haunted Mansion already open and converted to the night?
It was. Yes, it was. It's great. I've seen it one other time before, but they do change it a little bit every year, and it's great. It's worth coming out there for.
Jody B did not love it on thing as much as I did. Mansion. I think she tolerated it.
Well, I couldn't get on it for 4 days. Every time I tried, it would break down, or my lightning lane would not work, or something would happen. So when I finally, I don't love that movie, but I was incredibly impressed with it. I thought it wasn't an overlay; it was a completely different ride.
Yes.
I mean, it was overlay not as a. It's like calling, doing an entire gutting of your house, like you're throwing some paint on a wall. I mean, that it was not an overlay. It was way more.
I really agree. A whole new ride. That's why I was asking, because it takes a while to do all that. That's not a overnight kind of thing. You have to really transition that ride over for as much detail as they put in it. So good deal. Good deal.
All right, so final day of running's coming up on Sunday. So this is the big half marathon. Now, for all of you who have run Walt Disney World races, I feel like we had been warned plenty about the Disneyland half. Everyone's like, it's totally different. You're in the city of Anaheim a lot. You're not, so we were warned enough. I feel like I really understood this is going to be more like a typical road race than a run Disney race. So what was your impression, and how did you like the half marathon?
So everything that you just said is basically true. I will say they fixed the bus problem the next day. So they must have gotten an earful, and I just want to give them credit for that because they did hear everybody. There was no problems, no lines the next day. The buses were coming, and it was a really good situation. But I also was warned that it's in the city. So I was expecting that. The first part of it was very much like the 10K, where it was basically I think it was exactly the same start line.
Yeah.
And we went through the parks. And so the first half of it is almost the same, not exactly the same route, but a very similar experience. You're running through both parks, you're getting lots of characters, you're getting lots of photos, and then all of a sudden they dump you out on a street corner, and you're looking around and going, oh, this is scenery I wasn't expecting. Okay.
You climb a hill, right? Did you climb a hill?
Pardon?
Did you climb a hill right when you left the park? That was the big hill that we climbed.
I can't remember.
It was right by
there were some hills out there.
Yeah,
100%. That I wasn't really expecting those, but then so I'm running through, and there was actually some parts of that was very sweet, where there were people that came out of their houses and they're holding up signs and they have little children and they're watching you, and you're just going, oh, yeah, there was something very sweet about that just some of the people just living their lives, doing their thing, are like, hey, it's Sunday morning, let's watch these crazy people. And the kids are probably looking at everybody going, these people are nuts. What are they? There is grown adults in these outfits, and they're in the heat and they're running. What would anybody ever do this for? I mean, I can't imagine what some of the questions that people watching us must have had about what in the world was going on. But then after you get this shock of where you are and your surroundings, you just go, okay, we'll just keep going. And then you just go and you go and you go and you go and you go. And then all of a sudden we're going, oh, this kind of looks a little bit more like a city or something with things you might want to look at. And that's when I found the Ducks. The Ducks mascot was out there, and they've got signs and they're cheering for people. And I'm like, okay, we're getting jazzy again. This is cool.
The Disney with the Ducks mascot? We have a mascot, guys, I didn't know about.
You don't check your email. Check your email.
I guess I don't
team.
read email. Oh, okay. Well, a lot of times stuff happens in this podcast group that I don't know anything about, so I was just checking. Okay.
And so that was right by the Honda Center, and I don't know if that's where they play or not. That my assumption was that was it, and I think that's where everybody in January ran, right?
Yeah,
we ran by it. Yeah,
we ran by it. We got to it. I think we made a left and went down in front of it and came right back out, and then took another left. It was like a left into a U, and so yeah, that's where they.
Okay.
We visited very quickly.
Yes, we just ran past it. I wouldn't have had any kind of knowledge of anything had the people not been out there cheering with the mascot. So then as you're doing that, you can see in the distance you're headed towards Angel Stadium, because they have that giant A that you're kind of going, oh, I think I'm supposed to go there. Let's run towards that. But at this point, the sun is up for me, and it's getting a little warm, but it's fine. There's certainly enough water stops. There was no issues with that I heard people had a hard time with in January at any point at all. Did I have any issue with that? And then this was probably this nicest surprise is all of a sudden I go into Angel Stadium and the announcer is there and he's calling every single person's name.
Wow.
Oh.
And then they've got you up on the Jumbotron and you're running by like you're really something. And I'm just going, oh, okay, I am really something. And then on the banner that goes around the whole stadium, it's like only 2.3 miles to go. And I'm going, okay, baby, this is it. We're almost there. So that was a nice little reprieve at the end where you're starting to go, okay, I'm kind of done now. I've seen nothing. I've not had one photo pass photographer. It's getting hot. There's not been one character. There's not a whole lot of excitement. But now I got here and I can see the end and I'm okay with this. I thought that was a nice little surprise. I don't think anybody really anticipated that was going to be the experience. So it was neat.
Was it creepy that he knew your name?
Well, he had a computer, so I figured he was reading my name. Yeah. But
I forget about computers.
So we did that on the last race. We did that little crazy U, and we ran by the stadium. So we didn't go into the stadium. So that was actually pretty cool that you had an opportunity to do that. I think one of the things you have to take, and you said it, there wasn't a lot of besides people just on the side of the road. I think we might have had one band. I mean, I guess
Yes, there was a high school band, I think, at one point.
they must have been all on suspension or something. That's why they got stuck out there, because that's not where you want to be. But I mean, look, you run by Starbucks, you run by a McDonald's, you're
I
running by.
did have a thought at that Starbucks. I did think to myself, what if I just went in?
What
if I just went in?
I thought about it too. I was like, I should just go in there and get me like a passion fruit something or something. I don't know. It was just, it's just crazy. But I found that the roads weren't even. So they had like a hump in the middle, right? So as you ran along it, it's kind of like, it kind of throws your stride off a little bit. So that's why I think a lot of people, and they had potholes, right? You're running through the city of Anaheim, which is not the best city for running, I guess. But, I'm glad at least you got a chance to go through Angel Stadium.
I will speak to that a little bit, because that was also my thought once I got out there. I'm like, you need to watch your step. You don't know what's going to be out here or what's going on. These streets are not Disney maintained streets. Mm-hmm. But there were places where I looked at the streets and I said, what kind of donation did Disney make to get these streets paved? Because there were some streets that you could definitely tell had recently, that pavement was black. You could smell the tar from the recently paved street. Not all of them were like that, and I would advise caution, but I am guessing that maybe that came up on a survey somewhere where people said, you can't have people running on stuff like this. This is not okay. And somebody made a donation, or somebody decided to get it paved to make sure that it was okay. The policemen and the fire departments and all the people that were out there, that was your scenery for a while. You just kind of had a police officer every so often. They seemed as pleasant to be there as they could be. They'd wave to you and stuff like that. I'm sure it was not their favorite thing to do on a Sunday morning, but I did appreciate that they were there. And then there was a point where there was some people dressed up as Star Wars characters and said, "Bring the Star Wars races back." So that was something entertaining too. And then there was a man with licorice who just wanted to hand you licorice, which was also appreciated. And then once we got out of Angel Stadium,
checking for razor blades,
it was a little bit more.
Was it wrapped licorice, or was it kind of?
It was like the red vines.
Oh, you're supposed to check. That's nasty anyway, but you're supposed to.
You ran by it.
I don't think they were individually wrapped either. I didn't take one.
Oh, yeah. So you got to check that for razor blades. If I learned anything growing up for Halloween candy, you got to check it.
Tylenol. They had that when we growing up. Remember that?
Because drug dealers are known for giving away their drugs.
True. That's right.
It's funny. We had some Star Wars people for our run as well. I think it's the 501st. That's out there, and they were dressed up, and they were saying, they had the same signs, bring it back. Yeah.
So that was cute. And intermittently there were people out there. And then once you did get past Angel Stadium and started to get back to Disneyland, there were more people. And I imagine it's people's families who are expecting to see some runners. It looked a little bit more organized once you started to get back to the finish line.
Good deal.
Did your family come and cheer that morning since it was a later? No.
It's a lot to ask.
I understand.
They're this
little. Yeah.
They did cheer. They did come for Dopey, and they did cheer for me the last time I did Dopey towards the end of the race. And they knew I was coming, and it was later in the day. But it's a lot, especially when they really don't know where they are.
Yeah.
For them to try to figure out an appropriate place to cheer. No, and I'm okay with it. It doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I forgot to ask your costume this day.
My costume this day was a Sally costume from Nightmare Before Christmas.
It was awesome. It was a great costume.
It's from iGlow. No, I didn't make any of them. That one was from iGlow Running. The lady, her name is Wanda, and she's lovely, and she'll basically make you whatever you want. She has things to choose from, but if you say, I want this, she'll make it for you. Like the Haunted Mansion skirt, I asked her. I said, I want Haunted Mansion wallpaper something. What can you do? And she sketched it for me and sent it to me and said, do you want it? And I said, yeah. She goes, okay, I'll make it for you. So it's that piece is one of a kind. Like she made it just for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
If I wore costumes, I would probably ask for her contact information, but Jody knows I don't do costumes. But
Wait until you see our costumes for Wine and Dine.
I can't wait.
I have a great appreciation for people that wear costumes, especially running those distances.
Yeah. Well, we're going all out for the 5. Well, I think now we're going all out for Mickey's Not So Scary because we have tickets for Halloween night, and then
Ooh, that'll be fun.
And then our 5K costumes are pretty fun. I'm crafting them, so hopefully they come out the way that I think.
Oh, you're crafty.
No.
Why am I paying this other lady? I'll pay you.
I am not crafty. That's the comical thing about this. I am trying to do these costumes. So, but I am really excited about them. So hopefully people know who we are. We're not matching, but we're both. Anyway, I'm excited.
You're coordinating, maybe. Coordinating?
We're of the same family, but we're not related.
Okay.
Should be fun.
So, Chris, so you finished the race, took your picture, didn't have an I did it, caught the bus, I'm assuming back.
I did catch the bus this time. I didn't walk.
Good.
No.
My legs were actually a little tired. The day before I overdid it, and I got to the place where I looked at everybody and said, guys, my feet hurt. We got to go home. Yeah. I can't keep walking these parts. It's not smart for me for today, or for tomorrow, rather. And so I took the bus back, and my legs were tired. And probably this day was maybe the hottest day once we got into the parks, but it was our last day. And so I toughed it out. We were there the latest we had been the whole time. The goal was to make it to World of Color, but we got to it was like 8:30, and we're like, we're not going to stay. We're not going to stay. But I looked at my watch, and I was like at 23 miles by the end of the day that I had put on my feet. And I mean, I literally had not, other than to sit down and eat, I hadn't sat or get in a ride vehicle. I hadn't sat. So it was just a lot of hours on my feet where I said, it's our last day. We're going to do it, but I'll be glad to sit on that plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
Especially with the heat, because the heat takes it to a whole new level, right? I think it wasn't over 100 that last day. Thought I saw it. It's just. I
think so. I think almost all the days we hit 100. It was hot.
That's hot. That's crazy. So overall, your kids, do you think they enjoyed going to California? Do you think they liked going to the Disneyland park? And
I think they loved it. I did ask them, what do you like better? And they say both. But when I get my son ready for school, he's like, I want to go back to Disneyland. I'm like, oh yeah, it might be a little while. I don't know.
So Lightning McQueen.
Lightning McQueen.
Any tips or between the races, any tips that you would give for anyone who's going to do a future Disneyland race if they've only done Walt Disney World races?
I would say if you're not going to stay on property, know how you're going to get to where you're going, because I almost didn't think about that. I booked the Disney resort just because I know Disney, and I wanted to stay at the Disneyland Hotel. I don't know when the next time is that I'll be out there. And so I just wanted that experience. But it didn't even dawn on me. Had I not been staying there and transportation wasn't provided, I wouldn't have known where I was going. So definitely have a plan about transportation if you're not staying on site, and maybe even if you are, because we know that the buses may not be as reliable as we might like them to be. So just sort of know your route. I didn't even ask. When I was at Goofy's Kitchen, I walked up to the table next to me who was very obviously runners, and I looked at them and I said, I didn't even ask at the expo, where do I go tomorrow? Where's the start line? And they're cracking up laughing. Because I was on autopilot, like, oh, I'm going to get on a bus and they're going to take me. And they're like, you're not getting on any bus. You're going to walk. And I'm like, oh, good thing I asked you.
Yeah.
So make sure you're prepared for how you're going to get to the races. Give yourself extra time at the expo, especially if you want merchandise, because I waited a long time, longer than I anticipated, even with the virtual queue. And just be ready for a different experience. I didn't know what I was expecting, but it was different than I expected. And I actually enjoyed it a lot more kind of than I thought I was going to.
That's great.
Yeah. So we in full transparency, the Ducks have been having initial conversations about when we're going to migrate back to DL again for the next set of races. And right now we're thinking 2026. I think the things that you mentioned that they kind of corrected, hopefully that will continue. So next year they'll have 2 more races there. Hopefully they get everything done and kind of mirrors Walt Disney World, and then we probably migrate back on in 2026. Get ready, Gene.
Okay.
He's thrilled.
I don't want to go.
Yes, you
I do want to go. I don't want to run.
Maybe
No,
you
it's a
put
good
the Halloween one instead. Different experience.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I do something that's not the marathon weekend. Maybe I do.
So this is the thing, Gene. And so say you go and you don't run. What's going to happen?
I don't want to not run.
As soon as you see a medal, you'll be like, "Man, I could have got that," and I'll be "Yeah, you could have, but you didn't."
No, see, what you guys don't know, Lonnie talks about medals. Lonnie takes his medals off the wall and he sleeps with it. I mean, he just, looks at them, sleeps with them. I hang them up and I'll look at them again. I don't care about a medal. I'm all about the experience.
Why are you hanging up there if you don't care?
Because I got peer pressured into that too.
I know from Crystal. He's in denial. You hanging them up. If you don't want to look at them, you wouldn't even hang them up. You got that shadow box in the back of you right there. I'm looking at it right there.
You have no idea y'all have no idea the peer pressure behind that. Okay, I'm just saying. But
peer pressure, you bring medals?
Yeah. They were in a box for like 3 years. I'm easily influenced.
That's what I deal with. All right. Crystal, any other things you want to add about your trip? It sounds like I'm glad that your race experience is phenomenal, because I think we are all kind of holding our breath, waiting to hear how this next round of Disneyland races went. And it sounds like they made a lot of improvements. Maybe a couple more need to be ironed out, but sounds like it was awesome. And your smile and your photos say it all. Like, you were having a great time, even with the 900 million degrees heat. So
I thought it was great. I would probably go back and do it again. Not that I am. It's a big trip for us to get out there. This won't be a yearly thing for us by any stretch of the imagination. But I thought they did a really good job with the theming. I just really liked how everything was in the parks. I kind of felt like I got my money's worth.
Yeah.
There was something different about that there than there is at Walt Disney World. And it charmed me, I guess.
Yeah, I really wish they could run our 5K in Magic Kingdom. They could easily do it, because our Magic Kingdom is big. Right. You could start and end there, but I know it's moving the stages every morning and I get the logistics nightmare that has to present, but man, it'd be awesome if the 5K just ran through a park and not out through the back roads. But
right. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Lonnie, where are we now?
It's an awesome job. So now, and congratulations, you did get your Coast to Coast medal, correct?
I did get my Coast to Coast medal. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. For you guys who don't know, if you run at both the same calendar year at Walt Disney World and in Disneyland, you get the coveted Coast to Coast medal, not available in stores. So congratulations for you on that one. That's fantastic. So now we're going to transition to what some may say is the favorite part of the show, and that is quacking up with the ducks. So Jody B, why don't you kick us off and quack us up?
I'll try. So we've been talking a lot about California. Had to stick with theme. So how do you describe an earthquake in California?
I don't know.
It's a moving experience.
Crystal, can you quack us up?
I can quack you up. I'm going to give you one that came from the race course at the Halloween weekend. They posted jokes on the course the whole time.
And you remembered it? I
remembered it. In fact, I even thought about it. I said, I got to remember one of these for when we talk on the podcast.
I'm so impressed.
What is a witch's favorite school subject?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Spelling.
Oh,
That's a good one. Good one. Mhm.
that's good. That's good.
That's a good one. Good job. Mean Gene, can you quack us up, sir?
Probably not. I mean, I don't have a joke today, but we hadn't talked in a couple weeks, and y'all, you guys know I like to party. Y'all know, and I partied with some farmers. Do you know that? I mean, they really turn up the beats.
All right then. So I got one for you. Why couldn't the little boy go to the pirate movie?
I don't know why.
It was rated R.
Ah,
I got it. I put it the wrong way. Good job, Crystal.
Crystal got it. All right. So, guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Once again, if you like what you hear, please tell your friends. Tell all Crystal's friends as well so they can listen to how great of a time she had. And don't forget, 5 stars on the podcatcher of choice. But I'm going to be honest with you. Some things were said. And as always, we have to cover it because we have a very litigious podcast community. We heard stuff that maybe could offend somebody. So, Gene, keep us out of trouble.
The previous podcast may have contained discussions of extreme travel decisions, including flying across the country with small children, running multiple races, and dealing with rogue California buses. Side effects may include overwhelming jealousy of Crystal's endurance, sweaty memories of unseasonably hot September days, and confusion as to why Halloween is being celebrated at the beginning of September. If you experienced a sudden urge to sign up for a race, buy a plane ticket, or avoid all buses forever, please consult a Disney race enthusiast immediately. Results may vary, but according to Crystal, these were the best Disney races ever, despite the heat, the bus, and possibly her sanity. No podcasters were harmed in the making of this episode, except maybe Lonnie, but that's expected and probably deserved.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. In your face, lawyers. You can't sue us. Dun, dun,
Nope.
dun, 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 dun,
Done.
dun, dun. Can't sue us. Bye, everybody.
Best
Bye,
lawyers in the
friends.
business.
Bye.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having me.
Crystal.
This was fun. Don't
I
you
thought you
worry.
knew more about Disney, Gene. That could be it.
No, they know. If they listen, they know.